Welcome to Wisdom and Young Legend, and I am your host, Ersula Odom, and today we're going to travel across generations and work this baby from young to old and somewhere in the middle, because I have a young man today that's right smack in the middle, and he will talk about some things that will relate to both the elders and young people and those in the middle that can benefit from both. His name, Jason Oliver. Hello, Jason.
Good evening, Miss Odom. How you doing?
I'm just fine. Thank you very much. I'm so excited about your being a part of the show,
Thank
and
you.
especially the things that I know that you're going to talk about, because guess what? He's an author as well, and he has a new book coming out that I know that you're going to want to have because it will teach you something that will bring out the best of you. But you're going to hear about that in a minute. So to get started, tell the audience who you are and a little bit about your journey.
Okay. My name is Jason Oliver, born and raised in New York. I am married with two boys, actually 2.5 kids. I have two dogs as well. Two boys, one is 17 turning 18, and the other one is actually 8 turning 9. I currently live in Jacksonville, Florida, where I'm an analyst for a large company here in Jacksonville, and currently working on books, I should say. So one of them, Miss Odom, you are very familiar with.
Yes.
Um, and I am a life coach and a speaker as well. So I'm currently at the same time building my speaker's business and building a personal development program for people who need to find a better way. My motto is there is a better way.
There is a better way. Okay. And how did you arrive at that bit of wisdom?
Well, it's funny. My first speaking engagement, I actually brought this up. It started when I was very young. It started very young, where what triggered, I have to say, is my parents, who are no longer together. They've been separated and divorced for about 29 years now. So what started was they got into a fight. They got into a fight, and that led to the separation, physical fight that led to the separation. And what came after that was my mother had to work nights because the night differential back then was a whole lot higher than day pay. But every morning when she would come in right before we would go off to school, and she would be sitting on the edge of her bed just saying, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And I would hear her and her best friend talk about, they work together at the same job. And I would hear them complain about, what happened overnight and the supervisors. So what that led me to do is every time I would see this, it contradicted what my grandparents would tell me, which was go to school, keep up your grades to get a good job. Now, I have nothing against that. But from my personal perspective, I saw the disconnect between going to school, getting good grades, and getting a good job, and then my mother having what seemed to be a good job and the frustration there. So that led me to say at the right age at 14 that I was never going to work a 9 to 5. So at the age of 14, I got into some things to try to develop my entrepreneurial spirit. Went the wrong way a couple times, took the wrong path a couple times, but over the years, I've been trying to, I should say, push that entrepreneurial, but because of situations I was in, I had to get a 9 to 5. So at the age of, I want to say 22, 23, I had to finally buckle down and get a 9 to 5, and I've been doing it ever since. However, I've been applying my entrepreneurial spirit to the 9 to 5, which has led me to have success. However, because of COVID-19, I was furloughed for 3 months. And it just made me remember that, Jason, you have a gift inside you, and it's time to really push and bring this out now. So here I am, started doing some things over the last few years, as far as changing my mindset, getting around the right people, and focusing on developing myself since about 2016. So, and when I moved to Jacksonville, it was just like I was asking God, what am I doing here? And so he started answering that question quickly and abundantly, I should say. So now I'm here in your presence as a pleasure. It's a pleasure and an honor to be in your presence, to be able to be a part of bringing the visions that he gave me to life.
And you actually took the words out of my mouth, because it is an honor and a pleasure to help you bring this to light. And so that the audience know what we're talking about, you about to let the world in on a secret. And what is that?
Miss Ursula and I are working on a project, bringing forth a new book. Actually, it's my first book that is going published. I do have some other books that I've written, but never went this far. But this is my first official published book, and it's called How to Build a Superhero. And it's about you developing yourself to be your best self.
And this is so timely. And even when tragedy happens, it prompts us to think about things in a deeper way, to look into ourselves, to see what can we learn from this situation. And we woke up one morning and had lost a superhero,
Yes.
Chadwick Boseman. And I tell you, I'm not even of his generation, but I shed a few tears when I heard. I mean, oh no! I mean, he in a movie role brought such joy to so many people, and a sense of hope. So, in thinking about it, especially with all of the conversations about that particular movie and the roles that he played in, and knowing that you're sitting with a book that's about to be released that talks about and breaks down the anatomy of a superhero. It was just amazing to know that you have studied this and put it in a form that we can all learn from. So tell us a little bit about how that came about.
It's funny because it just came out of it literally just came out of nowhere. And I think at the time I started writing it in about 2018. I started writing the book where the idea came, and it was just a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, as we're dealing with now with the racial issues and the political issues. And me personally, I'm just not big on negativity and fear, and it was just a lot of that just spawned up out of nowhere. And what I found was a lot of people, especially young people, they didn't have validation. They felt like they had to get their validation through other people. So as I watch people that I grew up with on social media, as I watch their kids, and I watch people around me, and I used to teach the youth ministry, the elementary age from first grade all the way up to fifth grade. In the church I was a part of, and just seeing their mindset and how it was developed, the children were being developed into a state of fear and a state of negativity where they didn't know themselves. So I've seen that across a whole bunch of generations, and I was wondering, how can we change this on a mass scale? This needs to be changed. We need to change people's minds. People need to understand that they're better than what they are. And so it just, I think I was watching a superhero movie. I really don't remember, but it just came to me about, I was watching something. I really was watching a superhero movie, and I was just looking at all the different characteristics and traits that they all had that were the same. So it just led to me saying, you know what? Every single person has a gift inside of them. Everyone is created to do good works and to be great. However, we have people going to the graveyard sitting on a whole bunch of gifts. As Les Brown likes to say, the most expensive place in the world is the graveyard. And I had some deaths around me of people that I know that had potential and just didn't live up to it. So I thought that I can probably grab a few people that are my age, maybe older or in around my age, but really my target was the youth. and got the opportunity a couple of years ago to go into the detention center and teach the youth to make them better, have better choices, make better choices, and see that they are not what they grew up in.
So given the nature of this show where we talk about wisdom and young legends, and the fact that the premise is that the young man has the strength to cut
Yeah.
the path, and the old man knows the way, and that when you pull the two together, you have the best of both. Now, what we talked about when we first started was that you are somewhere in the middle there. And so my question to you at this point is, what do you see as the best of the elders and the best of the youth right now, that you could pull from?
It's exactly what you stated. It's the wisdom of the people who have been there. And it's funny because a lot of people don't like to read books, and they don't like to do certain things because for whatever reason. But truthfully, the books have the wisdom. So if somebody went through something for 30 years and I can learn it in 5 minutes or in a week worth of reading, that's value. So if somebody has the wisdom, and we have a generation that has a lot of wisdom, who have been there, who've walked the rope, who've walked the line, and understand, where to step, where to go, and what to watch, when to duck, what to watch out for, when to stop, when to go, but doesn't have the energy to continue going. So that's when you get the youth that can get on board, that has the energy. As long as they know they can head in the same direction and they are after the same goal, the energy of the youth will be able to carry that wisdom into the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it will give the older generation some peace, that they know the journey is in good hands.
It's funny that you should use that term, because what you reminded me of is John Lewis. I think that's exactly what
Yeah.
he spoke about. He left this earth with a sense of peace in his heart, because he felt like the young people had picked up the mantle.
Yes.
So that's key. And I know that happened in at least one other case that I'm familiar with, where an older person turned over a company to a younger person. And the sense of joy that that person had was visible. I mean, you could just feel it. Because after having a life of struggling for something, and to be able to put that in someone's hands that you trust, I don't know of anything that is better than that when you're talking about a sense of peace of mind,
Right. Yeah. It's funny because there's a show on HBO that I used to watch. I forget the name of it now, but it was the father had a big media company. It was time for him to turn it over, but he ended up coming back. He didn't feel safe with giving it over. He was going through some health issues, and he didn't feel safe in turning over the media company to his son. So he kept it going, and it just led to a whole lot of distress and anger and frustration throughout the family. So that's what we need to avoid. We need to be able to have the youth trained up, thinking logically, not so much thinking emotionally, and put that with the wisdom of the older generation to be able to move forward and make this world a better place.
Yeah. And what I like about your book is that you're taking those lessons and breaking down the secrets of developing that interpersonal and personal skill, that super you can emerge. And I think those are great lessons as it relates to working with young people as well, the children that, when you talked about hearing your mother say there has to be a better way, that reminds me that I happen to strongly believe that those are the kinds of things that happen for young people. It takes one statement that can
Right.
can completely transform a whole life, or give direction to an entire life. There is one person who had an adult that said, well, you're not a man if you don't make money, right? That
Right.
person made a whole bunch of money because of that statement, because unlike some of the others around, he took it to heart.
Right.
And so everything is evaluated based on, does this make money? Does this make sense? Am
Right.
I wasting money? I'm not wasting money. So it drove. And then another person became really successful with being an architect. Okay. And it was because someone decided that they were going to pour their life into that person. Okay. And there are some wit and wisdoms that were said or spoken to that person's life. And so when you're talking to a young person, it's an awesome responsibility because you don't know which one of those statements they're going to lock onto. And in
Right.
my particular case, my grandmother used to say, "You're a blessed child." At the time, I had no idea what that meant.
Right.
No, but it is my mantra right now. So if and anybody that's been around me have heard it a zillion times. And to me, it's like if I'm going through a bad time, I'm a blessed child and I'll get through it. If they're good times, I'm a blessed child and thank you very much. you know, so that is what keeps me going, is
Yes.
because I know that through it all, I'm blessed
Absolutely.
because government told me.
Yes. Absolutely. And I touched on that in the book as far as, the things that we go through. You can have two different ways. I believe I mentioned about somebody growing up in a household with parents who were a drunk.
Mhm.
And you can have two different children take that two different ways. You can have one child end up being a drunk because their parent was a drunk, or you can have the other child say, "I'm never going to drink because of that." So, and people have to develop that perspective of understanding that what happened to us was for a reason, and what happened to us is not us.
Mhm.
So we're more than what has happened to us. But a lot of people do fall into where um, they take that negative, unfortunate route, and it's on the adults, or I should say, the elder, to be able to speak that into the youth as well.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of children. I hate to say it. My son, but both my sons are doing virtual school. And yesterday morning, one of my 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, his classmates asked the teacher a question and asked the teacher if she can explain the question again. And you heard the mother scream out explicitives to the son and called him stupid. And this is an 8, 9-year-old that she called stupid. And the whole class heard it
No.
and heard it. And it was unfortunate and it's sad. And that just was more conviction for me that we, I have a conviction that I have to change the narrative, at least be a part of changing somebody's narrative, because that hurt me deeply. So blessings to your grandmother who's spoken to you, and you can see that words have power because of where you're at today.
Yeah, and you just touched my heart about that young person. It's like I want to give him a hug, and I had a situation like that, not quite as dramatic, but someone that's working with me along with a larger team had gotten some negative feedback, and I didn't know about the feedback.
Hmm.
And someone said to to her, "Don't worry about that. Don't let that bother you." And that was my first awareness that it even took place. And so my response was, "Now y'all got me mad at somebody I don't even know." I said, "Because as far as I'm concerned, what you do is what I need, and you motivate me." And I saw the change in her spirit.
Hmm.
Just a few words at the right time can just change a person's state. And
Absolutely.
and I take that seriously. I really do.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Very,
and
very.
we all need to be aware of that. So tell us more about your book. Um, so
My Sure. So it's called "How to Build a Superhero," and I know we're still working on getting some things developed. But the premise of the book is that I have 6 specific statements that we can work on, that people can work on, and they're just really the basics. basic statements of things that we have to become aware of and work on in order for us to be our best self. So there's truth, there's righteousness, there's virtue, there is the right state of mind, there's effective communication. So the book is about things that we developed, that we can develop, that we take responsibility for in order for us to become our best selves. And it's really, and truthfully, it is the basics. And I'll say this here first. Nobody else knows this, just my wife. But going through this process has spawned a second book of this,
Oh,
just to let you know.
good. Hey, I'm happy. um, so this is fascinating, and you're going to go around and give motivational presentations surrounding the book. I suspect, right?
Yes, yes. So I'm setting all that up now, doing working on the personal development program, working on my speaking engagements as well, and in order to bring this forth to the masses.
Mm-hmm. So, what I like about it and what I'm listening to now too is that your book puts the person in control.
Yes.
Um, and that young person that you spoke about, if they had that book and was old enough to understand what's in it, that would be a moment of being in control. Like, I am a superhero, and these are the reasons why, or this is what I need to develop, and this is how I'm going to do it. That's
Yes.
what I'm saying.
Yes. And one thing we definitely have to understand is that we have the control. We have control, especially over how we respond. We cannot help life. There's things that are way out of our control that we take a mindset of we try to control them, or we try to spin them in a way to where we think we can manage them. But we have to take a perspective of things that happen outside of our control are just that. They happen outside of our control. Now it's how do we respond to it? And there's a difference between reacting to something and responding. So how do we respond to those things? And that's one of the things that I'm teaching my son. My son is now realizing he's in his last year in high school, and he's realizing with what his teachers are teaching him that he has to take responsibility, and it falls on him. My youngest is now in third grade, which the teachers are now putting more responsibility on him to do the work instead of the guidance. So they're removing their hands a little bit. And that's throughout the rest of our life. We have to take control. And the fact of us not taking control leaves us in a state of being the victim at all times. So if we can we have to get out of that victim stage where it's somebody else's fault, take responsibility for our own actions, for our own emotions, for the way we react to things and respond. Take control of that, and let's do it the right way, do it the correct way. Look inside first. So there's a statement I like to say, when we point the finger, there's only one finger pointing out, but there's three pointing back out at us. So there's more accountability and responsibility on us. So yes, we do have the control.
So the message that seems to be settling with me at this point happens to be associated with the react versus respond statement that you just made.
Mm-hmm.
One of my previous guests, and the next time I say this, I am going to give her full credit because I don't want to say the name because I may have the wrong person. But she said that, and I think it was, no, I won't say. But anyway, she said that the difference between react and respond can be understood by understanding what happens when your body is ill and you take medicine.
Mm.
And you get it already.
Yeah.
If your body reacts to the medicine, that's not good.
Not good at all.
But if it responds, you got it going on. You're healing, you're moving forward. And that is the best explanation I've heard for understanding those two words and the value of the words. So a response is controlled and it is positive.
Yes.
Reaction is it may or may not be positive. I mean, you may react, but it it's not in your control. You just did something, you know.
Right. Exactly.
Somebody may have pushed the button deliberately and they knew you would react to it.
Right. So
Yeah.
it takes away, it's an emotional response mostly, and it takes away logic and critical thinking and logical thinking when you react, because it usually comes from a place of an emotion which is based in the past. So something happened in your past that happened before, and that's the way you reacted, and that's the only way you know how to react. So yeah, we have to get control, and that's what we have to get control of, because we see it all over social media of how people are reacting to everything, where nobody, I mean, we can talk about the Black Lives Matter movement and how these young men are being killed in a certain way. And a lot of people are reacting when somebody can say something about a certain situation, and somebody can react and respond to that situation and leave out the fact that somebody died. So the compassion is out the window. So instead of saying, well, what if he just did this? He would have still be alive. Well, he's not alive, and now we got to change something. So, and I'm seeing that every single day on social media, on the news, in real life, and it's just seeing a lot of intelligent people that are not too intelligent, who I thought were intelligent are not too intelligent.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I don't know all the details, so I could have this wrong, but what appeared to have happened with the basketball players and LeBron James and the young people to me, they reacted from a visceral, and this is I guess a rework of the previous conversation, but the young people reacted, or they
Right.
had okay, they reacted. But when LeBron came in, he said, "Okay, you did this. Now, what's the strategy behind it?"
Right.
So this is where you take that reaction and you create a plan so that you can respond.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I thought that was pretty slick. Even though it was a mix-up in there, from what I understand, it wasn't pleasant, it wasn't comfortable, but they came out of it using the best of both.
Yes. And that's where the youth and the elders come together in the middle to say, what do we do next? What
Yeah,
do we, yes.
yeah, that was cool. All right, so anything else you would like to tell your audience before we wrap this up? What's happening?
Okay, well, I would say just look forward to the book coming out, it's being released. I do not have a release date yet, but we are working closely. Miss Odom and I are working real closely to get this out to you guys ASAP. It's called How to Build a Superhero. And I'll say this, Miss Odom, we'll talk about this, but going from raw to refined. So be on the lookout for that. I'm building websites. I'm finishing up my personal development. I am a life coach, so if you contact me, you can definitely get in with some life coaching. So just working on all that. I took this time to rebrand myself. I took 2020 to rebrand myself, and so I'm looking for a great end to 2020. And what I would like to tell everybody is, don't lessen yourself. Don't lessen your best self to be mediocre for somebody else or because of somebody else. You are a superhero, and you have it in you to become great. There is a better way.
Oh, you wrapped that up rather nicely.
Okay.
That's a great tribute to your mother too.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so for those of you that are listening to this now or watching us at this point in time, by the time you actually see this, you can pre-order the book or actually order the book because it's been published. But right at this moment, you will be able to pre-order. Just down in the comments below, there will be a link to a place where you can purchase the book because it's almost in your hands.
Almost.
Almost. It's close.
Yes, it is.
So be supportive, buy it in advance, make him smile. All
Absolutely.
right. So with that being said, You can find us at sula2.com, and we make old new in everything that we do, in that we capture, preserve, and present legacy information in any form possible, from books to videos to legacy walls or even live performances. Yeah, that was my phone. So, so get in touch. Also, subscribe and ring the bell, and you'll find out whenever we go live again or put up another video. Thanks again. And again, order the book. Take
Thank you.
care.
Have a blessed and wonderful day.
All right. You too.